Volkswagen's gotten themselves in quite a little pickle, or a gherkin, I guess you could say, and maybe China can save them, maybe China can save Stellantis, and for that matter, maybe China's too busy saving themselves. We're going to go through all of that and just a little bit more with our good friend Mark from the Tesla Life Show. He's joining us, as he so often does, because I refuse to let him go. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futurasa. Yeah, Mark, I know you have looked at this story quite a bit. What's going on, man? Tell me what's going on in with Volkswagen in Wolfsburg.
Time has caught up with Volkswagen. We've been seeing this for some time about depressed sales. We've been seeing about their market share disappearing to other manufacturers, one of them being Tesla. And we've seen with their problems that they've had with software, for example, that has come back to bite them several times. Mm-hmm. And Volkswagen, all these things together is adding up to some serious financial problems that they can see they're going to have to make some serious changes.
I was talking with an Amazon engineer the other day, and I said, I was telling him about the complication of integrating all of the systems, all the software. And I said, Volkswagen tried it. Guess how many software engineers they hired to build a from the ground up internal system? And he thought for a second. I said, no. Give me the wrong number. And he goes, 2,000? 10. It was 10,000 that they hired. And he's like, yeah, that's good job. Good job. He goes, that would be the best job ever. You wouldn't have to do anything and no one would know.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, so this is the first time in its 87 years that they will close a plant inside of Germany. Now, does this mean the company's doomed? Or do you also believe, like I do, that they are perhaps too big to fail and would just be saved?
They certainly would be rescued by the German government. They are one of the largest employers within the country, if not the largest, and with additional suppliers that contribute to it. You're right. It's too big to fail inside of Germany.
For auto manufacturers, they are in many years the largest in the world. Yes, they will be fine. This will not be the end of them. This is just very uncomfortable. And so, yeah, what are you going to do? Stellantis is running into some trouble too. Stellantis to rapidly grow exports of Chinese EVs to Europe and other countries. What a great idea, Mark. I can't build a low-cost EV that's actually compelling and profitable. Let's just partner up with like Leapmotor and shake hands for a photo op.
Let's just buy a cheap EV from somebody else and push it off with our badging on it. Where have we heard this before, Brian?
The Honda Blazer comes to mind. But also, you might be thinking of like the Geo Metro or the Chevy Sprint. Those were also big sellers. And frankly, better cars than they had any right to be for how cheap they were. But can you see a problem with this strategy?
Yeah, I can definitely see a problem is that if Stellantis has no knowledge to build a compelling, cheaper EV offering, they will always be beholden to the group that they're buying them from. And that group at some point is just going to turn off the spigot and said, we may as well take all the profit from this because we're making the EVs anyways. People are buying them. All we have to do is tell them it's not Stellantis, it's us.
In the 80s, 90s, aughts, you could have gotten away with private labeling and people would have maybe heard rumors, but we're in the information age and everybody knows. It is in your face information like that. Everyone would know it's a Leapmotor inside. But surely if you just had an ironclad contract, or let's say Leapmotor just really likes the arrangement, what could go wrong? Well, I suppose your own government could stomp on your sack a bit. EU gives final green light to steep tariffs on Chinese electric cars. Is what has now happened. This is not a theory. This is in practice. Other EV producers in China who cooperate. So the import duty is between 20.7 and 35.3.
Yeah, that's going to put a real dent in competitive pricing.
Wait, that's more than our margin. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's I told you to tuck your sack back in, but they just didn't listen. So that's great. That's great. And the last bit of very, very exciting and definitely not deeply troubling news is Volkswagen today said, "Hey, you know what we could do? Why don't I pay you less?" Yeah, you guys are cool with the 10% pay cut, right? I mean, when
Everyone's
we
got
were
to chip in. Everyone's chipping in.
when we were doing really good, surely we gave you guys an extra 10%. We
Somewhere
didn't.
along the line.
Joe from San Joaquin says, "Yikes, no good way to spin that news." Correct. Yeah. They should have never fired Herbert Deese. They're effed. Uh-huh. Beneficial Lobster. You are correct. And I chat with him sometimes. He's frequently correct. And yeah.
Yeah, that's just not great for Volkswagen. So we're closing plant, if not plants in the future. And now we're asking our workforce to take a 10% cut, even though we're trying to build competitive, compelling vehicles. That's really going to help having your workforce know that they lost 10% off the top as their contribution to the ship sinking.
What a way to build loyalty.
Yeah.
The Amazon engineer I talked with said, "How's employee retention at your company?" And he just looked at me, and I said, "It's a meat grinder." He goes, "It's a meat grinder." He said, "I think the average tenure before someone leaves is a year." He said, "Don't quote me on that." So I'm going to quote him. He said, "It's a year." No, but he was estimating. He said, "I don't know the actual numbers, but it's real short because it's a meat grinder." Hey, you don't take care of your employees, they're going to look elsewhere.
Yeah.
And the worst part is it's the best people who leave because they have the choice of leaving. So yeah, China seems to have a few things going for it. Let's keep going with China. Don't know if you've seen this, but the new stripped down Xiaomi SU7 Ultra EV prototype has become the fastest four-door car at the Nürburgring with a lap time of 6:46. That's pretty exciting.
It is. And again, it's great to see EVs chewing up records on the Nürburgring. This has become the showdown track for all manufacturers to see what their performance vehicles can do.
It is. It is. I mentioned this on the show before, but the CEO of Xiaomi went to California to experience FSD himself so he'd know what he's up against. And I thought that was very strange. I was just sure he'd go to Missouri, the Xiaomi state.
That's not even a thing. Come on, Brian.
It is. It's the Xiaomi state. I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure Missouri state slogan. It's right here. I'm telling you. Well, that's Latin. That's not helping. The Great Seal. I didn't even know they were coastal. There we go.
The Xiaomi state.
I'm telling you, it's right here.
You've got people screaming at the screen from Missouri now.
It says it. What does this say? Read it.
Show me state.
Well, you pronounce it funny, you Americans.
Oh, I'm Canadian. That's the problem, right?
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. Well, while we're talking about Xiaomi's great time of 6:46, let's see how that compares with some others. Model S with track package, 7:25. That's a 30-second improvement over the Tesla Model S with track package. Now, mind you, the Model S with track package is a production vehicle, not a stripped down prototype, but that's still a big jump. If we go up a bit here, we'll see very big headings, you guys. You've got to not do that. Boy, you're really making this page hard to see. Taycan Turbo 707. There we go. Oh, please, for the love of all that's holy. I'm just going to go to the top because this is ridiculous. The IDR Concept 605. Now, mind you, that's clearly not a four-door sedan.
A little bit different.
That's an extreme. The Neo EP9 did 645. That's comparable. So we've got some Chinese cars putting in some really crazy numbers, better than the Rimac. Wow. So good job, Xiaomi. I don't know if you know this about Xiaomi. I did not. I found this out this week. Jim Farley's been driving one for 6 months and doesn't want to give it up.
Yeah, Jim's doing some smart investigating, seeing what's out there. He's going to see what's coming his way, so that he's got an idea before these things start showing up on the North American continent.
It's a good-looking car. The tech sounds like it's good. The real advantage Xiaomi has is they are a cell phone company by heritage, and that means they understand software. They understand OS integration, and I have not had any personal experience with this vehicle. From what I understand, it's a perfectly good car. We don't know how deep their losses are, and for export, it'll be challenging because it's made by one of the highest tariffed companies in China, a government-owned company, and the losses, which on paper may look reasonable, even narrow, are probably masked a bit by the fact that the manufacturer who's actually building the car is likely losing money on top of that. But this is still quite good. Have you heard anything about their sales figures?
I have not.
20,000 in October.
That's a pretty good amount.
20,000.
That is
20,000
good.
Isn't that more than Lucid has ever sold?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
So
that's $250,000 a year. If they keep it to October numbers, that's like 240,000 a year.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. City analysts raised their forecast to basic math plus a little.
Yep.
Up from basic math minus a little. Good job, Wall Street. You're really earning your keep. The concern is that, my concern, of course, would be that there's a limit to how much money you can lose. You can offset it with your other business lines,
yep.
like Ford does with their gasoline cars, or Xiaomi does with their cell phones and other products. So we'll see how it goes. But these are all exciting things, I would say. Any thoughts on these? I should mention, and by the way, get your comments in. I'd love to hear them. They help out quite a bit. They are mandatory. I don't know if I've told you that. Comments are mandatory. You're just here so you don't get fined. It's a normal thing. I am hoping to and planning to go to the Shanghai Auto Show in April, which would be an opportunity to actually get my hands on some of these many, many cars that are difficult to see in North America and even in Europe. So that would be
a great opportunity to get your hands on some of these vehicles that we have been seeing in the headlines
for these many years. And the beauty is you have to go back constantly because they keep changing. But it's a good way to establish contacts there and understand the market, understand the entire situation behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I am doing this full time. This is my jam. This is my gig. This is what I do. If you can throw me a couple bucks, that would be great. If not, you can subscribe, you can like, you can do all those things. You can, in fact, even stay tuned, stay juicy. And I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, on the next one.